Hello and welcome to our The Children's Bible in 365 Stories. Today we're going to look at story number 19, which is entitled Isaac is Born. And if you remember, God had promised Sarah and Abraham that they would have a child even though they were beyond the years of having children. And after waiting a while and God not providing that child, Sarah decided to have her slave become a wife to Abraham and have a child. That one is named Ishmael, and all of these characters will come into play in the next couple of stories. So let us jump in. This is found in Genesis chapter 1 if you're following along in a traditional Bible translation. Of course, God kept God's promise to Abraham and Sarah, just as God had said, and at the time that God had foretold. Sarah gave birth to a baby boy. She was so happy that she laughed for joy. Remember, she had mockingly laughed at God, thinking she was too old to have children. And if you also remember, what's important in this time and place is having male children. That is what you passed on family lines through, identity through, property, everything went through male children. So it was the utmost important and the highest honor to have a male child for this culture in this time. So they thought differently than we think today. So that's part of why that's so significant. Let's continue. When the time came to give the baby a name, Abraham called him Isaac, which means he laughs. Perhaps he was given the name because he was such a happy, smiling baby, but it was also a reminder forever of the joy and happiness that his birth had brought to his aged parents. Sarah must have remembered that other time when she had laughed because she did not believe God's wonderful promise that she would really have a son of her own. Baby Isaac soon grew up and began to toddle everywhere. One day, Sarah looked out of the tent and saw big half-brother Ishmael teasing Isaac and making fun of him. Sarah was angry. She wanted no rivalry to her own special son. She hurried away to find Abraham and demanded that he should get rid of Ishmael and his mother, the slave girl Hagar. Abraham was sad and troubled. Isaac was indeed the promised son. God had given him to them by a miracle. But Ishmael was also Abraham's son too. He did not want to harm him. God comforted and reassured Abraham. God said to him, "You may do as Sarah says. I will take care of Ishmael." What an interesting change of events. First, Sarah doubts God will provide a child because she's past the years of having children. Then decides to take it on herself to bring to Abraham her slave Hagar to provide a child, which by tradition would have been considered hers. Then God actually provides her with a child, and now that she has her own child that she gave birth to herself, she doesn't want any competition for her child, so she decides to get her husband to send him away. And God allows this to happen because God promises to take care of Ishmael. This will come up later in more stories. What a fascinating turn of events and interesting things to think about. But now they finally, in their elder age, have a child of their own, and it is a male child, and has the name He Laughs, Isaac. What a neat thing to happen for them. Well, we'll learn more in the next story. Thanks for joining me.